Hey guys, I'm Stephanie Weaver, fine art artist, and welcome to my studio. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be painting a flower. Now, if you haven't painted with me in the past, the last two episodes that we did, I actually painted this calla lily with a little ladybug, cute little ladybug. And we also painted these beautiful cascading pink flowers. So you can go ahead and do those as well. Now today what we're going to paint is a purple hydrangea. Hydrangeas are one of my favorite flowers, so I had to do a purple hydrangea. I do have it already pre-sketched out. If you are looking to have it sketched out too, check the resources that are available to you in this video. And in the meantime, let's go to the intro. Welcome back. So what we're going to do today is, right now anyway, is I'm going to take you through the palettes. Themselves, I mean, the purple colors that are on here are really pretty similar, but when you put it onto the canvas itself, this one's such, Dioxazine purple is such a more rich color, and this one, the cobalt violet, seems to be more towards a lighter purpley, almost red color to me. So I'm going to use this as a nice reference guide to figure out what colors I want to use in my purple hydrangea. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lay out my colors, and if you've watched me before, or if you followed my ultimate guide to buying oil supplies, I believe that's what it's called, there's actually a template in there that you can use. It's the template in the color theory and painting the color wheel. It's in there. There's a template in there that actually shows how I lay everything out. But I reserved this section that's over here for new colors. These are colors that I don't always use in my paintings. So that's where I'm going to put them. And I do label them just because I just do. I don't know. I'm that way. You can get a nice little Sharpie. This is tempered glass, so I can use a Sharpie and erase it. So I'm going to put my Dioxazine purple there, my cobalt violet. And because I typically have my lighter stuff towards me, I put my radiant magenta here. Okay. And a little will go a long way. I don't need a bunch. How different those are. It's pretty cool. Okay. And because I didn't get my burnt umber, I'm going to go ahead and get my burnt umber out. I haven't painted this flower yet, and I'm not 100% I need burnt umber, but I always, like I said, always put it out so that, oh, sometimes these things get stuck. Use your shirt, there you go. Sometimes I have a pair of pliers available, but they got moved. Okay, but like I said, I always got those colors, and I always have them in a specific order so that I know where my notes are, like a piano, I know where everything is. Okay? All right, now let's go ahead and mix up a nice medium purple. So I'm going to mix up a couple colors with these. Let's see, got my palette knife. And I'm going to mix up probably the dark color that I see in here, which is like I see ultramarine blue, and I see some of that, I'd say dioxazine purple in it for my darker colors. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that and my ultramarine blue. Okay, and it doesn't, a little of this is going to go a long way. These are highly pigmented colors, so I don't have to grab a ton and waste a ton. Okay, I'm going to touch more. Make it more towards the blue side, I think. Okay. Alrighty. And then I'm going to grab some of the cobalt violet. And I'm going to grab a little bit of this magenta. Radiant magenta. So that essentially just created the tips that we see there. By creating the dark and then the light, I can then marry the two pretty easily together when we actually start painting. I probably will need more of this, but I'm going to keep going. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get ready to paint. All right, so one of the things, okay, so one of the things that I do with these types of paintings is I do sit with them in my lap. And the reason why I do that for paintings like this is I don't want to have to paint all around. And when I paint up on my easel, I'm very kind of more free, but I don't want to get out in the line, so to speak, because I'm planning on making products out of these. So I'm kind of pretty careful about it. The other thing that I like about having it in my lap is I can spin it. I am constantly moving it around, tweaking it, and doing things like that. So even though I'm sitting at my easel right now, I'm still painting it with it in my lap. All right. So enough talking. Let's go ahead and paint. So I am going to keep talking, but you know. All right. Let's see. Paintbrush. Okay, paintbrush that I'm using. This is an Escoda. I like this type of tip right here. It kind of goes up. Let's see. Can you see? Here we go. Right there. See how it comes up and around like that? These make fabulous petals because they're just, it's the way the bristles are made. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Got my reference photo nearby. Now you'll notice on my drawing, I did not draw out every single flower. Instead, what I did was I kind of get indications of where some of the centers are, and the rest of it I'm kind of gonna make up as I go along. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's get started with the darks. So I see some darks over in here. And I am going to just kind of make petals with my strokes. And I'm not married to the design just yet. And really the reference photo, it's just that, it's a reference. I'm going to make my flowers how I want to make them. So, otherwise I would buy the photo, right? Actually, I took this photo. Alright, I'm going to pull in some more color. By adding more ultramarine blue and a little bit of alizarin crimson, it's really going to darken that up. And it makes it more interesting than just putting straight up black. See what I mean by I can turn it? Because I know I'm going to have a little center flower right there. So it's just easier for me to turn than it is to move my arm. So again, I'm focusing on the darks first, so I'm going to come down here. And a little bit more alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. And somebody outside decided to mow their yard. He's been mowing that yard for 4 days. I am not kidding. It's not that big of a yard. I think this quarantine's making everybody a little bit nutty about their house and keeping everything up to perfection or something. I don't know. or they're just bored. In which case you paint. You gotta learn how to paint. You'll never be bored. Okay. So I've been wanting to keep this right here. This will be a stem coming through. I want to keep that visible. So I'm not playing in that at all. I think I might just grab some lighter color and start bringing that in. I'm just really kind of focusing in on where the dark petals are. You'll notice also that I'm not using any medium. The medium that's in the flower, in the paint, is sufficient enough. Okay, I'm going to start moving towards the lighter color for the petals on the top. I might just wet my brush just a little bit to get some Gamsol on it so my paint moves a little bit more easily. Could also use some Galkid, but then I'd have to get up. So again, what I'm doing is really just kind of blocking in where I see some lights and some darks. It doesn't really matter at this point whether I can see individual flowers that are on the hydrangea itself. I'll call out that towards the end. I'm going to grab from my other color notes, just make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I've got an initial blob, right? But it's in the right color. I've got a lot of good movement in it. And so now I'm just going to really kind of blend and using a mop brush. So it's just, this one is just a, a dry, fluffy brush. And what I'm trying to do is kind of blend in the colors a little bit. That helps create those subtle transitions from light to dark. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then start refining and defining where some petals are. Okay, I'm going to take a small brush, and this is an Escoda number 4. I'm going to dip it into my Gamsol, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift out where I want my centers to be. So I'm going to put a flower right here. That's where one center is going to be. I'm going to put another one, maybe right, yeah, about here. Okay, and then I'm going to do another one, maybe right about here. Let me see my picture here. So I added that one, and that one. So it's like pink, pink, pink. And maybe I'll just do a hint of one right here, another hint of one maybe right here. See what that kind of does? It kind of helps me identify where, and another one right there. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to start refining them. I'm going to grab some of the radiant pink or radiant magenta. I'm going to define this one, starting from the light and bringing it in. One of the things I do with my reference photos also it helps me see how petals might overlap, relay in terms of their folds and stuff like that, and that way I can bring that information into my painting without making it look exactly like the reference image. Okay, gonna add some ultramarine blue to my radiant magenta. Next, I'm gonna start kind of bringing that color in. Just gonna add some of my more radiant magenta. And I'm gonna add some blue. I'm gonna grab some of my cobalt blue and then a little bit of the white. There we go. I'm gonna add some just touches of blue in here. And take some of this Dioxine purple. I'm gonna add some white to it. Then take a nice clean brush, and I'm going to pull out some highlights. So what I mean by pulling out highlights, I'm actually going to lift off some paint so I can better define some of those edges. Kind of make that one fold over a little bit. See, I have a little petal forming here, so I'm gonna pull that out a little bit. Alright, so now I've established some of the lights, I'm going to reestablish some of the darks. So I know this is a little flower. That I want to call out. I'm going to darken up some of the areas underneath some of these petals. I'm grabbing some of the ultramarine blue, Legion crimson, a little bit of sap green. It's a nice rich dark. Bring underneath the petal. That starts to separate them. The thing is, the purple is on the green. Green is on the outside of the color wheel, so it's going to help these leaves, the petals, pop just a little bit more by adding a little bit more green towards the mixture. I'm going to go ahead and mix my green to start working on the leaves. So I'm going to grab some of my sap green and a little bit of the yellow ochre. Okay, I'm going to pull some of that to the side and add a little touch of the ultramarine blue. If I pull some of the purple down into it, I'm not going to worry about it too much, so I can always refine those edges. And the colors are going to reflect into each other, so it's good if you actually bring in some purple. Pulling it in the direction of the veins. Make some more of this. To make the paint last a little bit longer, and so you can actually pull it down into a straight line, I'm adding a little bit of Gamsol to my mixture here, and pull it down. I'm going over this thing, a leaf. That was one of the things I wanted to make sure happened. Okay, now the top of the leaf is a little bit different color. It's got some more white into it, so I'm going to grab some of the white and a little bit of the cobalt blue, because it's like the sky is reflecting on top of the leaf. So if I capture that, you can see it's a different color. And again, what I used there was some of the sap green mixture along with a little bit of white and the cobalt blue. The reason why I picked cobalt blue is it is a warmer blue. Okay, back towards the edge there, it does get darker. I'll grab some of my darker mixture. kind of giving indications where the veins are. Okay, now underneath, I'm gonna add a little touch of yellow. It looks like it's got some yellow to me. And some ultramarine blue. So I'm basically making a different color of green to go under here. And then take a clean brush. So I'm going to take a little bit of a mop brush here. Smooth this down a little bit. And if I bring some purple onto it, I'm not going to worry about it. Kind of moving in the direction of the veins. So if some of those little marks still show up, it's totally fine. It looks like it's part of the leaf. Okay, now I'm going to bring out the veins. So taking a dry brush, I'm going to dip it in my Gamsol, wipe it off a little bit, and now I'm going to come in and pull off some paint. Just working on creating a little bit of a highlight by removing some paint. And then dry, clean, small brush. Just going to smooth the transitions down a little bit. I'm gonna add in some shadow, and I'm actually gonna use some of the purple mixture that I used and add in some purple right next to it. Nice. All right, same in here. So just using some of the purple, and it mixes in with the green. Lifting off some of the paint to create some of the highlights over here. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the little centers of the flowers using some of the blue and the purple and the green that I made. Make that a little lighter. Just put little indications of where some are. Okay. And maybe just a few more little highlights on the petals. Grab some of that color. Paint my hair. Just gonna add a little bit of touches of that. Okay. And I am going to add a little bit of black to my purple here. Just really kind of set off some of these petals. And a touch of a highlight. All right. I think I'm done. So I hope you enjoyed this painting, and feel free to paint on it more. You can even paint on it tomorrow, and it's just going to add more and more depth, more and more petals, and look amazing. So until next week, stay safe, happy, and healthy. See you guys soon.